Imagine walking into a room for the very first time, yet a powerful, unnerving sensation washes over you. You've seen this exact scene before. This intensely familiar but confusing experience is what we call déjà vu, which is French for already seen. It's a common occurrence, affecting an estimated 2/3 of the population at some point in their lives, but its precise cause has long been a profound mystery. While folklore might link it to past lives or premonitions, modern neuroscience offers far more grounded and fascinating explanations. It is essentially a perceptual trick, a harmless glitch in your brain's intricate information processing system. In simple terms, déjà vu is best described as a momentary hiccup in your brain's processing speed, creating a false sense of recollection. Your brain is constantly bombarded with sensory data, and its job is to organize this stream of information into a seamless, unified experience of the present moment. This requires incredibly precise timing across various brain regions, but sometimes a few of these internal components fall slightly out of sync. Think of it as a momentary delay or a brain hiccup, where the feeling of knowing outruns the actual memory retrieval. This quick, false tag is what triggers the eerie sense of an event having already transpired. One of the leading explanations is the dual processing theory, which suggests that the brain's ability to recognize familiarity and recall specific memories happens through two separate, but usually simultaneous cognitive routes. Normally, both routes are in perfect alignment, allowing you to recognize something and know exactly why you recognize it. However, the déjà vu feeling occurs when these processes are temporarily desynchronized. It's like your brain successfully registers the feeling of familiarity, but the rational part responsible for recalling the actual memory hasn't yet caught up or been activated. You are left with the potent feeling without the logical context. Our experience of the world begins with sensory input, everything we see, hear, and touch, which is first funneled into the brain's sensory cortices. This raw data is then quickly packaged and sent along to the temporal lobes, the key region responsible for processing memory and linking new information to old experiences. The crucial step here is the speed and accuracy with which the temporal lobe processes this incoming stream of sensory information. For déjà vu to occur, this sensory package must somehow be processed in a way that tricks the memory system into thinking it's not a fresh experience, but one that has been filed away before. The sensation is generated even before our conscious mind has a chance to fully analyze the new environment. The memory mismatch theory suggests that déjà vu is an error in our memory filing system. Every time we encounter a new scene, the brain attempts to find a match in its massive database of stored memories. In the case of déjà vu, a new sensory input is mistakenly flagged by the brain as an already existing memory. This happens because the brain's memory retrieval system, perhaps located in the medial temporal lobe, misfires, causing a spontaneous, powerful flash of familiarity. It's not that you're remembering a past life, it's that your brain's complex indexing system has momentarily mislabeled a brand new file. This accidental tag creates the convincing but false sense of prior experience. It is essential to understand the difference between the pure feeling of familiarity and actual memory recall. The feeling of familiarity is subconscious and rapid. It's an emotional gut feeling about an experience. True recall, however, is a deliberate, conscious process where you can retrieve specific details like the time, place, and people involved in the memory. Déjà vu is characterized by this strong, compelling sense of familiarity that lacks any specific memory details to back it up. We feel we know it, but we can't consciously pinpoint when or where, proving the feeling itself is an isolated cognitive event, separate from a genuine memory. A sub-theory suggests that déjà vu can be triggered by a partial match between a new scenario and a forgotten one, often below the level of conscious awareness. For instance, you might enter a new room whose configuration, lighting, and placement of furniture are structurally very similar to a forgotten room from your childhood. While you don't consciously remember the old room, the brain's perception network picks up on the structural similarities. This subconscious recognition of a partial match is then wrongly flagged by the brain's processing system as a complete recollection, resulting in the powerful, unsettling feeling of having been there before. The brain is reacting to a pattern, not a memory. Another key theory focuses on the brain timing error, also known as delayed processing. This suggests that the same single experience is received by different pathways in the brain at slightly different moments in time, effectively creating two signals instead of one. For example, the signal may travel to one hemisphere of the brain, say, the memory storage side, a tiny fraction of a second before the other, or before the signal reaches the consciousness center. The brain usually processes all sensory information as a single coherent event, but this minuscule delay creates the illusion of having experienced the event twice, separated by that split second. The second, slightly delayed signal is interpreted as a replay of the first. Consider this process as a single movie scene being accidentally recorded and played back immediately afterward. The incoming data, for whatever reason, is split into two distinct, non-simultaneous streams. When the brain receives the slightly delayed stream, it interprets it not as a continuation of the first stream, but as a completely separate event. Because the content is identical, the mind mistakenly registers the delayed signal as a second encounter with the exact same moment. This subtle but profound error in perception is enough to generate the eerie false sensation that the current reality is a memory being replayed, causing the full-blown déjà vu experience. It's an immediate resensing of the same information. Once the temporal lobe has created this false familiarity tag, the brain's frontal lobes quickly spring into action. The frontal lobes are the brain's rational center, responsible for logic, error checking, and conscious thought. They quickly analyze the situation and recognize that there is absolutely no logical basis for the memory that the temporal lobe is presenting. The frontal lobe's job is to send out a correction signal, telling the rest of the brain that the feeling is an illusion. However, the feeling of familiarity is so strong and immediate that, even with the rational correction, the unsettling sense of déjà vu still persists for a few confusing moments before dissipating completely. It is important to emphasize that for most people, déjà vu is a completely benign neurological event. In fact, it is often more common in younger adults than in older adults, suggesting that a brain with a highly active and flexible memory system is more likely to experience these minor processing hiccups. The only time it can signal a health concern is when it happens extremely frequently or is accompanied by other symptoms, as it can sometimes be a sign of temporal lobe epilepsy. But for the vast majority, experiencing the occasional déjà vu is simply evidence that your brain is actively working, constantly sorting and filing the millions of pieces of data that make up your reality. So the next time that strange, powerful feeling of "I've been here before" strikes, remember that you're not sensing a forgotten past life or peering into the future. Instead, you're experiencing a fascinating temporary peek behind the scenes of your brain's processing engine. It's a wonderful reminder of the sheer complexity and precision required for your brain to construct your reality moment by moment. Déjà vu is simply a delightful, little neuroscientific error that reminds us how truly marvelous the brain is. If you enjoyed scratching this bit of knowledge, like and subscribe to Scratch the Brain for more deep dives.
Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.